Europe is no longer a hub for enthusiasts. Is Europe collapsing? Nearly every area, like the economy and industry, is declining. Class conflicts have peaked, and racial and religious tensions are rising. European political leaders are not addressing these problems effectively. This is something Li Yu actually said himself. Today, let's take a closer look at this topic. Let's get right into it. Before that, I've published a book this time, and it's also my first merchandise. It's at Kyobo Bookstore and nearby stores, so please check it out if you can. I'd appreciate it. As you likely know, Europe has been one of the world's most influential regions. Since most of the world history we learn is actually European history, you can see how influential it is. Europe is often called the cradle of modern civilization. From the 17th to 20th centuries, Europe had a global influence, spreading advanced civilizations. Today, most people live in societies shaped by Western civilization. That's why, during the Age of Exploration and Industrial Revolution, Europe gained dominant military and economic power worldwide. After the World Wars and Great Depression, most European countries lost much of their power. Europe no longer has its former prestige due to failed welfare policies. While it remains a top 3 economic power with North America and Northeast Asia, its past glory is hard to see. The very reason this report was published is to show just how serious the crisis is. Some even say that if things continue like this, all of Europe could collapse. Let's start by looking at the bigger picture and then get into the details. Europe's declining gross domestic product is clear proof it's getting poorer. The European Union's gross domestic product is $16.6 trillion compared to the United States' $25.5 trillion. This gives you an idea. Even when you combine the GDPs of all 27 European Union countries, it's just 65% of the United States. Let's look at this more closely. Among the 50 states in the United States, the state with the highest gross domestic product is California. California's gross domestic product is $3.9 trillion. The United Kingdom's gross domestic product is $3.495 trillion, meaning a single United State's gross domestic product can exceed that of the entire country. Just something to consider. I censor Nim. The United States itself is such a large country and has maintained its position as #1 in the world, so of course you could say that the United States' gross domestic product is higher. But the thing is, there was a time when the European Union's gross domestic product was actually bigger. Even as recently as the 1980s, the economic size of the United States and the European Union kept overtaking each other, and there wasn't a big difference between them. And during the 2008 global financial crisis, Europe even surpassed the United States. But nowadays, the gap between them has become extremely large. With a gap of about 35, it's accurate to say the European Union can't catch up with the United States. Let's examine and analyze why Europe has declined. First of all, Europe is a region where energy costs are extremely high. Europe is a continent that lacks its own energy resources. To put it simply, you can think of it as being in a similar situation to Korea, which makes it easier to understand. They rely entirely on energy imports and spend about 3 to 5% of their gross domestic product just on importing energy. The European Union imports 60% of its energy, including 96.8% of its oil, 89.7% of its natural gas, and 44% of its coal from outside the region. As a side note, since they have to source energy from other regions like this, that's also why economic sanctions against Russia haven't been fully enforced during the Ukraine war. Since they're spending so much on energy, the difference between the United States and Europe is clear. The United States is now a net energy exporter, exporting more energy than it imports. So, the industrial gas costs between Europe and the United States differ by about 3 to 4. This kind of difference is huge from an industrial perspective, and just thinking simply, it leads to a significant price gap, so they inevitably fall behind competitively. Europe also lacks many strategic resources needed for future industries. This is true for Korea too, but the impact appears even greater in Europe. Key future strategic resources include copper, nickel, cobalt, lithium, graphite, and rare earth elements. China and non-European countries largely monopolize these resources. Mining, refining, and processing are also mostly controlled by non-European nations. China handles all graphite refining and processing, which is a major issue since these resources are vital for eco-friendly industries like electric vehicles and batteries. Europe is advancing eco-friendly policies and industries, so industrial penalties are expected. While Europe does have resources, that's also true. Europe has many nickel, lithium, and cobalt mines. Serbia, for instance, has Europe's largest lithium mine. This site produces 58,000 tons of lithium yearly, enough for 1.1 million electric vehicles. But development is stalled due to environmental concerns. The Serbian government has pushed forward and announced that they will resume lithium mine development in 2028. Political groups and civic organizations oppose developing these mines because of environmental pollution concerns. Although Europe has quite a lot of resources, the reason they haven't been able to develop them is because of this. Is it that Europe's radical environmental policies are preventing the European economy from growing? Everyone agrees we need to protect the environment, right? But because Europe's environmental policies are so extreme, there are many restrictions on developing strategic resources or fostering new industries. Because of this, Europe is inevitably declining. The information technology and electronics sectors still face challenges. Notably, no European company is in the world's top 10 electronics firms, which is surprising given Europe's foundational role in electronics after the Industrial Revolution. Even just 15 years ago, mobile phones from companies like Motorola and Nokia were doing very well, but now you can see that the information technology and electronics industries have completely collapsed. There are 5 television manufacturers in Germany: Loewe, Metz, Technisat, Bortmann, and Grundig. These 5 combined still have lower sales than Lucky Gold Star Electronics. Pretty amazing, isn't it? 10 years ago, though slightly behind the United States, it remained one of the 2 key pillars of the global information technology market. In 2013, Europe held 22% and the United States 30%. Now, Europe is at 18% and the United States at 38%. In the last 8 years, European telecoms market cap dropped 41%, while United States telecoms grew 20% and the over-the-top industry surged 357%. Information technology and electronics are promising industries now and will continue to be in the future. That's why it's predicted that Europe's economy won't improve but will get worse. With electronics and information technology industries struggling, Europe is also weak in AI and the 4th Industrial Revolution. Deutsche Telekom, also known as Germany's Cherry Cloud, has a market cap of about 196.97 trillion won, while Microsoft's is 4,262.4 trillion won. American information technology companies have a much higher market capitalization, often tens or hundreds of times greater than all other companies combined. Deutsche Telekom 196.97T won OVH Cloud, 1.74T Orange, 43.09T International Business Machines, 263.54T Google, 2,584.08T Microsoft, 4,262.4T Amazon, 2,610.72 T1, like this. And maybe because they haven't fully felt the crisis yet, the investment in the artificial intelligence industry is also small. Currently, 71% of the global investment in the artificial intelligence industry is from the United States. China accounts for 15%, and in the end, Europe is only investing 7%. Since Korea is investing about 2%, you can see that Europe has almost no interest in the artificial intelligence industry, and in the semiconductor field, Europe's presence is even smaller. The United States has taken the lead in system semiconductors and design, while Northeast Asia has taken the lead in memory semiconductors and production, but Europe does not have a dominant position in any of these areas. The automobile industry is Europe's largest, employing 2.6 million people, about 8.5% of the European Union's manufacturing workforce. The automobile industry has also been unable to keep up with recent trends, and is falling behind not only in technology, but also in cost effectiveness. As a result, the market share of European automobile companies has dropped significantly. Until the year 2000, Europe accounted for 31% of global automobile production, making it the largest in the world. However, as of 2022, that share has been cut in half to just 15%. And China has taken the top spot with 32%. European automobile companies are also gradually losing ground even within the European continent, showing that the European automobile industry is collapsing. Car companies from Korea, China, and Japan, especially China, are doing well in Europe and steadily taking market share from European car makers. The European Union is facing a broad crisis, as nearly all industries are being overtaken by Northeast Asian or American companies. This report published by the European Union says that unless Europe gives up one of the 3, freedom, environment, or welfare, it will eventually collapse. If you look at what's been happening in Europe recently, you can see that most of Europe's problems are related to one of those 3. Of course, all of them are important, but if you think about whether they're important enough to give up everything else for, I'm not so sure. What do you all think about the current situation in Europe? Please let me know in the comments, and that's it for this video. Thank you.